What's going on, everybody? This is Jerome Moore, host and creator of Deep Dish Conversations. And firstly, I want to say thank you for all love and support, and thank you for exploring the perspectives of social change with me on this platform. I want to encourage you all to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and on your favorite podcast listen platform. And make sure you give us a 5-star rating if you're loving the Deep Dish Conversations. I appreciate all of the support again. I hope you all enjoy this episode. Judge Walker, how you doing? Welcome to the platform.
I am doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. 2022, trying to dodge this Omicron.
Well, that is what we're doing on a full-time basis.
Right, exactly. Your 2022 is getting off to a great start?
Not too bad. No complaints.
Okay, did you do anything for New Year's? You turned up, have a good time?
Nope, I turned up right in my living room.
So let's jump right into it. Just give us a little background information about who you are, where you from, and kind of abbreviate it because I'm pretty sure it's a long story. And maybe some like inspirations or influences or just key moments that inspired you to become a judge.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. First of all, that's appreciated. Again, I'm Judge Allegra Walker. I am a general sessions judge here in Davidson County. I have been a resident of Nashville since 1989.
Okay.
So I've been here all but 3 years. I went to law school, came back. I am originally from Oklahoma.
Okay.
I am a college brat, so I grew up on a college campus, Langston University, which is a historically black university there in Oklahoma. Came here, went to Fisk, so I'm a Fiskite.
Okay.
And so I've been here for a while.
All right.
So moving forward, just because I want to give you the nuts and bolts of the story.
Yeah.
And not go all around the world. What inspired me, well, my background is criminal law.
Okay.
That was totally accidental. It was not on purpose at all. I wanted to do anything other than criminal law.
Wow.
I initially wanted to be a sports agent and be in entertainment law, but that didn't work out.
Did you play sports growing up?
Nope. I just thought it was a sexy career with lots of money, and I could use my law degree with that. But yeah, I ended up getting in criminal law just on a chance. I did some networking, met with some folks, try to, help me out because I had a hard time getting started here in Nashville. Wasn't from Nashville, didn't go law school in Nashville, and
Right.
I just had a hard time. Nashville wasn't all that friendly, to be honest. I'm not sure if it really is right now either, but you make it do what it's supposed to do.
Right.
So did some networking. They thought public defender's office would be a great place. Wanted me to call over. I called over. They interviewed me. I did like a, not an interview, but they just wanted me to come over and see how the docket ran and was I really interested in that work because it's difficult work. And it was like an instant love affair. It was like Jerry Springer on steroids, to be honest, it was. It was a love affair. So I started in the public defender's office. Was there for about 7 years, transitioned out and did something else just because I was tired and you just get beat down in that job, I think, long term.
Right.
Did something else for about 6 months, totally hated it. And I got a call from the DA's office, some friends of mine that were over there. Went there for 6 years, loved it. And then from there, I took a gamble, a risk on me, and I ran for judge, and kind of here I am. What inspired me? Being in the system for over 13 years, seeing things done incorrectly, seeing judges be insensitive, see judges that were totally out of touch with people, being culturally incompetent, seeing a whole lot of bad stuff. So I just figure if you can do it, I can do it too, and do it better with a little style.
Right.
And I think really I had a conversation with a judge one day about running for office because I had started to kind of get interested, and that judge told me my best bet would probably be trying to get an appointment through city council because a black woman would never win a citywide race.
Wow.
So I was like, you know what? I appreciate that thought,
Right.
Thank you for that challenge, telling me what I can't do.
Right.
So kind of just certain events just kind of inspired me along the way. One of my good friends, Judge Angie Dalton, ran about 8 years before me, and she was just like me. We had the same background, same everything. She was able to do that. You know, she
Right.
actually was the first elected black female to the bench here in Davidson County. So from there, I was just like, oh man,
Right.
okay, I got 8 years. Let me get this thing together and run
Right.
it. So
Right.
that was 8 years in advance of planning. But to be honest, I really didn't think even then that I had a chance,
Right.
to do that. You look at other people and it looks easy, but it's not.
Right.
So, that was a little inspiration to me. At that time, President Obama,
Right.
ended up getting elected president. Who would have thought that?
Right.
He wasn't that much different from me.
Right.
So it's a lot of things that I think inspired me and kind of fed my inspiration to do what I did.
Nah, you hit on some things that I definitely want to go back and touch on a little later on.
Okay.
But now General Sessions Judge here in Davidson County, what happens? What is that role like? What goes on for those like myself that don't have to show up in front of you? And
Well, I will say this: it is not as sexy as people make it seem. It's not.
Okay.
It's a hard. I enjoy doing it. I wouldn't dream of doing anything else other than doing that. But it is a hard job because when it falls on in your lap, and you don't have any control over that. So from day-to-day basis, I preside over 75% of my job of what I do is I preside over domestic violence cases.
Okay.
And those are the hardest cases, in my opinion, to deal with because it's relationships. So it's,
Right.
Intimate partner, it's family, it's a lot of things. So those are difficult. They are very charged kind of cases, full of anger, full of violence, just some of the dark stuff that we
Right.
don't really talk about and don't want to talk about.
Right.
So I preside over those cases. So my day is Monday through Friday. I have probation violations. I do orders of protection hearings, and then I'll do preliminary hearings and trials on domestic cases. So with domestic, there are 3 of us in the city that hear all those cases. So with domestic violence cases in general across the county, it accounts for about 50% of all crimes that happen in Davidson County.
Wow.
So whatever you might have done, let's say you had an aggravated robbery and, leaving the scene, you committed some type of domestic violence act against, let's just say, your mother.
Right.
All that comes to me. And, in the meantime, you didn't have a driver's license or they were
Right.
suspended and, they caught you with, 5 grams of cocaine.
Right.
All those cases would come to me in addition to that domestic.
So
Our dockets get hectic with lots of other stuff on top of the domestic cases.
So I got a just a curious thought about domestic cases. Being a black man, being a man. I gotta ask because I don't personally know. But the narrative, and I guess this was society that the picture that is painted tells me that most of the domestic cases, the woman is primarily the victim. As men, a lot of times we may face domestic violence, but because we're men, we just suck it up. I'm not calling police. I'm not gonna,
Sure.
I'm not gonna do that. So from your point of view in seeing it every day, all the time, do you see more men coming forward about that? And are those ratios of that this more women are the suspects? Is that what you see most of the time as well?
So statistics show with domestic violence, 70% of those victims are women and
Okay.
about 30% are men.
Okay.
But you do raise a very important point because I just think with our society, men do not like to come forward and report.
Right.
So I do think those numbers probably are a tad bit higher. They just aren't necessarily reporting. And then when you look at domestic violence from a different lens, let's just say people who have alternative lifestyles, homosexual lifestyles, they also experience domestic violence.
Right.
They don't necessarily want to come to report that either because you may not want,
Right.
the whole world to know what's going on within your household. So
Right.
I do think those numbers probably are a little higher
Okay.
than what we see, but statistically on paper,
Right.
30% of those victims are men.
Wow. And 50% of all crime in Nashville is domestic.
50% of all crimes are domestic violence crimes.
That's crazy because you don't see those on the news. That you know, to be
Well, you don't
50%.
see.
Yeah, for 50%.
Too busy showing you all the murders that go on.
That's wow. Dang. And so you I guess is it still kind of that Jerry Springer on steroids type of stuff?
It just depends on what it is. This week was very Jerry Springer-ish, I will say. This week was rough. This week I just left from court, in fact,
Right.
and I thought, what happened this week? Where did all this come from?
Right.
So it just depends. Sometimes it can be quiet, and then sometimes it can be, it can be Jerry Springer-ish. Other times it is very sad, because I'm hearing, it's just not for entertainment. There's real stuff that comes through. There's real stuff that happens.
Right.
So,
with 70% of those domestic violence cases, women being the victims of, as a woman yourself, how does that sit with you? And I know you all have to, you have to stay impartial, as judges took an oath. But how does that weigh on you as a woman from when you're on the bench and then when you go home, just knowing that 50% of all crimes and then 70% of those victims are women?
Well, I don't get paid to wear my feelings on my sleeve or my thoughts on my sleeve. I get paid to follow the law, and that's exactly what I have to do, is follow the law. And I've been in this business for 20 years, so I have seen and heard it all. So nothing's really going to surprise me in my job, although about once a month there's something that, upstages last month's surprise. I mean, I've been in the field for so long, and I totally understand domestic violence and the cycles of violence and what gets people to court. So I'm in tune to that. I go and do education outside of the courtroom on my own too, so I stay in tune and I'm up on cutting edge of things that's going on. As a woman, I mean, I'm empathetic to what's going on. I just can't let that. I just can't let that affect me. When I leave out of the garage, I have to leave all that at work. Otherwise,
it's a lot to bear.
That's a lot. It's a heavy burden to bear. So I just have to train my brain to be able to separate work from home. Because when I leave out the garage, I'm Allegra. I'm the mother. I'm a wife. I'm a daughter. So I have to flip into that role too, and I have to kind of do that in a way that allows me to be able to pour into my family and in the community, and vice versa. So it's a tightrope, but I mean, you just have to walk it and know how to walk it. And I've done it long term, so it just kind of is automatic for me now to do so.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I'm pretty sure that's something when you initially came into this role, or just the legal system, you had to train yourself and mentally find your balance for that. Yeah, no, that's. Could I do that? I don't know if I can do it.
You can do it.
I don't know if I can do it. I want to go back. I was gonna wait until later, but it's on my mind now. You had mentioned that one of the kind of inspirations that made you wanted to be a judge and run is you seen that the system and the other judges were kind of culturally insensitive.
Culturally incompetent.
Culturally incompetent. We're black. We understand and know the historical history of unrighteous punishment, I would say, that our legal system here in the United States have bestowed on black folks. For you, being a black woman, how have you been able to navigate that space? Because we're harder on each other, off just the fact of our skin color. Don't know you, might not know you, but she or he's a black judge, I feel like because of all those historical things and some things that are still currently happening, you know, there's some exclusivity of giving breaks or putting that pressure or wearing that, trying to push that on judges or any elected or public officials that may have our skin color because of things that have happened. How do you navigate and balance that?
Okay, it's very interesting. So, as it relates to cultural competency, when I say cultural competency, it goes broader than just being African American.
Right.
And some of the issues that I've seen on the bench. So, yeah, are we competent to know what are some of the day-to-day struggles, not just black people, for poor people?
Right.
You know, so when you are poor, regardless of your skin color, there's problems. There's going to be problems with health, problems with education, problems with transportation, problems with employment. It's going to be all of that. Do you even speak the language? What kind of support system do you even have here to help you navigate through when you are in trouble? You know, judges need to, you know, be a part of the community. You don't get a pass just to go and put on your robe every day and you sit somewhere on a throne and you never engage with the community or even have a basic understanding of how community even works.
Right.
And so I would see a lot of that. So it's, when I say culturally competent, it's a lot of things. You know, you need to understand sexual orientation.
Right.
I mean, you need to understand a whole lot of stuff, I think, when you get on the bench, because that education, that basic knowledge and engagement allows you to be able to understand people, to feel people, to touch people, to embrace people, to know what's going on, to be able to also render good decisions as well. I think we are in a very good position right now in Nashville as it relates to that. Yes, we can get better, but we got a whole lot of difference on the bench. You know, when I practiced, that was prior to 2014. So the majority of the bench was white male, and we had three white females. Now, of the 11, there's three African Americans in general sessions. We have one judge that is Latina. We have a judge that is outwardly gay. We got just a whole lot of different stuff. Like, we got judges who didn't grow up with that silver spoon. Judges who went to HBCUs. We got judges, you know, who are just everyday people that they are not really, they're not from Nashville. They're not Nashville natives. They come in from all kind of places. Like, I'm from Oklahoma. There's a judge who comes from Louisiana. Like, there's a judge. I mean, so they come from, I think we have a pretty decent bench. Yes, it can be better. And those are ways that we're always going to have to educate and judges about folks. So, the favoritism, how do I balance that tightrope with folks who see me as black and think, oh man, you know. I say that having me on the bench is a benefit to everybody. I've come up from public defender's office, so I have dealt with everything. I've dealt with, you know, the homeless guy. I've dealt with people with mental health issues. That's a big topic too that we don't like to talk about in our community. You know, I've dealt with folks who have different sexual orientations. I've just dealt with all these folks who could not read. I have to sit and read the plea petition to you because you do not read. So I've just dealt with all of it. I think that is a bonus for me, sitting on the bench, and why people should feel more comfortable, because I totally get it. Now, I am 8 years removed from that right now, but I get it. And on top of that, I stay immersed into the community to just know what's going on, to be of service, because that's just what I need to do. Like, that's just what it's about, really. Well, why would I even be in the position I'm in and I cannot serve as community? The community is better because I'm better. I'm better because they're better. Like, it all comes together. So yeah, people do think they get some benefit sometimes. A hook up, you know. I'm there to follow the law. Now, do I have discretion at sentencing to cut somebody a break if it falls within the law? Absolutely. You know, do I lock some people up? Yep, I do. Do I give some people alternative forms of sentencing, probation, or a class that can help them, or just some other stuff, a suspended sentence.
Right.
Absolutely. Do I waive some fees because you don't have a job and you're indigent and you can't afford to pay for it?
Right.
I sure do. So I do all those things. It's not because, you're getting some kind of magical, African American hookup.
Right.
It's because I understand and have a fondness and a love for people and understand that sometimes they get in bad places and they need some help just to get through and to get through probation or to get this expunged from their record or do things like that. So, that's part of that cultural competence. You understand that and you truly embrace and love the community, then that's just going to be seen across the board regardless if it's black, white, Hispanic, whatever it's going to be.
I want to dive back into the community, the competence of the community at large. We have community court watch here in Nashville, which I believe is a good way for community to, one, hold judges accountable, but two, figure out what is going on and how the court operates. What happens on an everyday to day type of thing for those who are not getting locked up all the time and knows the process, right? Can you talk to us a little about your thoughts on Court Watch and how that, maybe pros and cons, but also how the community can best benefit from participating in that, if that's something they want to do?
So I think Court Watch is a great idea, first of all. And as you said, it's a great way to bring advocates into the courtroom to see what goes on, to hold judges accountable. I think, so for me and some of my other colleagues, it comes not with a negative connotation, but it's like, okay, who are they and what do they want and what is your goal? You know what I mean? Because sometimes with judges, when people put you on blast, you are on blast for all the world to see, and we have to sit back and take it in case they too much. So we get nervous, is really what I'm saying. Like, what is your goal? What is your aim? Kind of like when you called me for this interview. And I was like, who is this guy and what does he want? And why does he want me on camera? You know what I mean?
Right.
So we don't always know what your intentions are. So I think that is an area of improvement because it's not always the bad guy. You know what I mean? I think they can benefit from us, and we can benefit from them as well. I just think there probably needs to be a gathering of sort to make that introduction, to know who's in my courtroom, why they're here, and feel free to watch because it's open to the public. So anybody can come in any day. In fact, I invite you to come so you can see what goes on in the domestic violence court. But anybody can come and watch. But for those people that are there watching, I think it's imperative, it's extremely imperative that they know what's going on in court. What are they actually watching? To sit up front so you can actually hear. Because sometimes you can't always hear what a judge is saying, but to kind of know what's going on so you can put it in proper context as to what's going on. And then, because I know that you're coming and we've already made that introduction, after court, we get to talk behind the scenes so you can ask me your questions as to what you just saw to help you process through what happened. Because a lot of times people still may not know what happened. So in the perfect world, I would like to see that happen. I think it's beneficial on both sides. There just needs to be a little better communication, and then everybody would benefit.
Right.
Yep.
I think because everybody sees justice differently. For example, you working on a docket, you have a case in front of you, and I'm watching. You give out a ruling, and as a potential court watcher, because my how I understand justice may be different from how you understand the justice you get given, I might say, Judge Walker, she could have done this, boom, 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 and yeah, she was just too hard, right?
But and then you may not have known.
Right. And
was that really hard?
Yeah, I don't know. Because again, I think
On the outside
on the
looking
outside
in.
looking in, I think naturally, a lot of people may see our criminal legal system is just hard in general, just tough. No matter what the case, it's just tough. It's just hard.
Historically, it has been tough.
Historically, historically, it has been tough. And
With
then,
not a lot of checks and balances. It's
Right.
just been tough. And
It's
it
been
usually
tough.
is tough on, black and brown.
Right. And then that culture, psyche plays a part of it as well. And so I think I like that idea. I like your ideal idea of, especially that dialogue afterwards. And I know it's some things that judges can't talk about cases in general. But I think that would help community a lot as far as just understanding the processes on the decisions and how decisions are made according to, Tennessee law. And be able to intelligently ask questions or even ask if there were alternatives and be able to break that down to them. But I think, it's easy for us to go in there blindly. It's like, I'm here. Judge Walker didn't do this. Because we all not coming in there understanding the law the same way or practice law and all that. But I like that though. So are you open? You open to that? You open to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And to be honest, when I know that people are in court, sometimes I'll have, let's say, high school kids, or there might be just some kind of advocacy group.
Right.
If I know that they're there, hey, how you doing?
Right.
At the end of the docket, or sometimes I may take a break and bring you back to my office, and then you can ask all the questions you want to ask. But that gets an understanding about what just happened, and I can answer questions, and then you don't have to just go away wondering or thinking something that really was not that,
Right.
not what it appeared to be. So I think it's an excellent idea, and I think I don't speak for everybody. I mean, we're 11, and I'm just one of that. But I think people would be open to it.
Right.
It's kind of like the police. You don't really necessarily know. Like you have an idea about the police, and it's not always that good.
Right.
I think with, good positive interaction with police, you sometimes understand their role, and they kind of understand what your concerns are.
Right.
But that communication can really not necessarily forge a friendship, but forge a healthy respect and an understanding for each other.
Right.
And from there, I think everything just kind of works itself out to some degree. And I'm just using the police because that's just what's off the top, just off the top of my head, where I know that people, the relationship is not
shaky.
Always the best.
Yeah, it's definitely shaky.
And I think with judges, people don't know judges. People are just now starting to see and know black judges here in Davidson County. Like, we're Johnny come lately, so I'm always shocked when people, and I guess when I was growing up, I didn't know any black judges at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we're starting to get into we're starting to have them. We got 7 right now in Davidson County that's still on the bench, and elections are in May, so, and the ballots are going to be full.
I tell people that I speak, especially young folks, like police and judges kind of go hand in hand in a lot of ways because, the police might arrest you, but they're not ultimately making the decisions. The judges that you elect, that you can vote for, that you might have to see, if you do your due diligence, do your work, you can pretty much gauge and control who's giving you your fate.
Okay, so let me correct you.
Okay, correct me.
So we don't necessarily go hand in hand with the police.
Okay.
I think the district attorney's office is more hand in hand with the police because the district attorney's office picks and chooses what they're going to prosecute and bring before the judge. So to be honest, I don't really get that much interaction with people. So I may have a docket of, let's say today, I had a docket of about 25 people. I only had one preliminary hearing today where somebody came face to face with me and I had to make a decision. All the wheeling and dealing is behind the scenes, and that's between the prosecutor, district attorney's office, and the defense attorney.
Now,
so I do very little. Yes, I'll take a plea, accept a plea, or I'll do a hearing or a trial, but most days I don't really get that kind of interaction with the people.
Right. Mm-hmm. So Okay. I'm gonna kind of go off order right now because I'm gonna ask you about it. I didn't tell you I was gonna ask you about it. I didn't let you know, but I gotta ask you about it.
We'll see.
The DA's office. DA Funk, Glenn Funk. He people will say the narrative would be he did some willing and nilling. Recently, I would say fairly recently, with the Daniel Hambrick case, with Officer Andrew Delke. I can't never get his last name right.
Who was up for parole, I think, yesterday.
And he denied it.
Okay.
Yep, he said he would, but he denied it. Your thoughts on that decision that District Attorney Glenn Funk made?
So let me say this. I stay comfortably in my lane.
Okay.
And that's judge lane.
Okay.
I don't really get out of pocket too often. So I don't control the DA's office. I don't
Right.
control the public defender's office. And I don't get up in the police department business.
Right.
I will say that I have been in the office of the district attorney. Like, I've been a prosecutor. So I do have an intimate understanding of plea bargains and how things go to trial and how people deal with cases. So I do have an intimate understanding of that, and the general public does not. So, things that appear is not always what it appears. Same thing within my courtroom.
Okay.
If you don't have an intimate working knowledge of the courtroom, then what appears to happen on the bench may not necessarily is what's happening.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So that is my official answer. I stay in Walker Lane, and that
Okay.
is
Okay.
Division 4,
Look,
and stay
look.
out of everybody else's.
I had to look. I had to ask you. I had to throw one at you right quick. You mentioned staying connected in the community and really understanding community and really understanding, like, being tapped in as a judge so you can, make better decisions, have better understandings when people come before you in court. How are you staying connected with community, or how have you just throughout your 8 years thus far, through your tenure? Because I don't know, like you said, we just now seeing a plethora of black judges, but also I don't know people just regularly trying to hey, I need to speak to a judge, and are they holding something where I can ask them some questions and get a better understanding? I don't know many people that is intentionally doing that, that is not in the line of organizing and stuff like that. So how have you been able to stay in tune with community and help community understand better what is happening in court? And so when they get there, they're not taking things out of context, or they can go in there with an intelligent understanding.
So, to be honest, my work in community just didn't start 8 years ago.
Right.
It started long before that. So when I came back to Nashville and decided I was going to be a member of this community, I got to working then just because that seed had already been planted, not even at FIST. That seed had been planted when I was a child growing up. Because I grew up in a small, community where we just did community service. So I've always done this. So it's not like work, or I don't do it because of the job. I do it because I love it, and that's just what's inside of me to do. And I think I've been, I'm just a benefit of crazy wild dreams of my ancestors. So why am I gonna not give that back tenfold to other people? That's just what I do. So while I've been here, a lot of my community work involves women and girls.
Okay.
Just to be honest, I kind of keep it on purpose and keep it real intentional. So it's women and girls. So I am involved in big organizations that do that type of work, like Links Incorporated, Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated. So I'm involved with some of those types of organizations. But I go out in the community and do speaker engagements. Now that we've been in the pandemic, I'm always speaking about something on a Zoom call. A lot of it's going to deal with domestic violence. So a lot of that, I like to educate women and girls about domestic violence. Men as well, because I think that's important too. But a lot of that is domestic sexual violence related, and it's education. I go into the schools a lot, and we'll talk to girls about healthy dating, relationships, healthy boundaries with relationships. So I'll do that. I mean, it's just so much stuff that's out there.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
do an oratorical contest every year, Allegra
Okay.
Walker oratorical contest, and that's
Okay.
just to try to get kids to open up their mouth and use their minds and their voices and
Right.
speak and have that power to be heard.
Right.
So I'll do that in conjunction with Fisk University.
Right.
We didn't do it this year, but
Pandemic.
it's gone on for about 7 years
Okay.
that we'll do that. I'll go to read to kids at elementary schools. You know, they'll sometimes have me dress up in a robe and I'm bring my gavel and they get to ask me questions and touch and feel all on me because they've not
Right.
seen judges. You know what I
Right.
mean? So to touch and feel and know that I'm a real person and I'm just not, on television
Right.
is great. So
Yeah.
I enjoy doing that, and I'm going to read a book to you as well.
Right.
So I just get involved with whatever.
Read
I
a
mean,
book and not throw the book at you.
you know what? And when people call, I'm gonna always answer, and
Yeah.
I'll always come, and I'm never too busy
Right.
for it because I just have time in my schedule.
Right.
I mean, it's 2:00 in the afternoon, and I'm sitting here talking to you.
Yeah, you
I mean-
answered my call. You called me back. Hey, and we talked about it a little bit. Just how it was a time where you just couldn't reach out to your judges and
because we didn't exist.
Right, you didn't exist, but also it's intimidating. A
It
lot of
is.
times I think it's like, oh, they can I call a judge? Does a judge have time to talk to me? So, but I'm calling though. but that's good to hear, and I hope the viewers and watchers are listening to this. Hey, call Judge Walker. She willing to talk to you. And
On top of that, that it's important that you just said that people are intimidated. People are intimidated, and I try my best because I can't control how you perceive me.
right,
I try my best to be touchable, to be relatable, to
Right.
be, open so people don't get, feel some kind of way about
Right.
reaching out. But I mentor a lot of college students and young women as well, and bring students, especially to Fisk, because that's where my heart and my
Right.
money goes. Allow kids to come in and work under me,
Right.
do internships or just whatever
Right.
they want to do, just to be able to get to the court system on the backhand side and not the
Right.
front side. You can walk through the back hallways, and I
Right.
can take you through and meet Judge
Right.
so and so or Judge so and so. Oh,
Right.
so and so has a trial. Go across the street, tell them I sent you.
Right.
And you just get that kind of experience that people don't ordinarily wouldn't be able
Right.
to get, but for people like me
right.
on that bench.
Nashville is growing. 100 people, something like that, moving here a day.
I wish they'd stop.
And I would think, right, more people, more crime. So with that, where do you see the future of the Nashville criminal legal system going? And maybe what is it going to need that we possibly don't have now?
It's going to need some more money.
Okay.
Maybe the mayor's going to be listening to this right now. It's going to need some more money. With the growth of the city the growth of the criminal justice system, unfortunately, is going to grow too. And it's not always the criminal justice system, the civil system is going to grow.
Right.
So I hear civil cases as well. Any dispute under $25,000, I also get to hear. I hear cases on the mental health docket. Those are folks who have been committed out to MTHMI or Parthenon Pavilion or some other places. I hear those. So with that growth, those things are going to grow too. Everything is going to grow. I also preside over environmental court where, if you're not cutting your grass or you got too much junk piled up or,
Right.
You got roosters and chickens in the front yard or
Right.
the dogs are fighting and it bites,
Right.
a little kid. I hear that. So with the growth of the city,
Right.
those dockets are going to grow. So, we need money to stay, cutting edge with technology. We had some challenges during the pandemic at the beginning. Clearly it's still going on. We're in our third year now. Imagine
Right.
that. But when it first hit in 2020, we had lots of challenges with technology, and we were shut down. Like the court system was probably shut down about more than half of 2020.
Wow.
And we did do eventually some Zoom type offerings, but again, from the criminal perspective, it's hard to do that because your people are incarcerated. Like they just have different challenges. Or if you're not incarcerated, you just may be poor and
Don't have access to.
guess what? You don't have access to the
Right.
internet,
Yeah,
or
or
you
a
don't have your
laptop.
little fancy iPhone where you can just
Right.
zoom in, from
Right.
your bed and be in court. So there's a lot of challenges that we experience with that, but I think those are going to probably be, you know, we're going to have to work that out and we're going to have to keep moving forward. I think at some point, I don't know, there might be a need for another courtroom. I don't know, but the dockets are getting bigger.
Right.
We can't even handle the amount of cases that we used to handle pre-pandemic, and we can't do it because of safety.
Wow.
We used to pack a courtroom in
Right.
100, 150.
Right.
Can't do that anymore. Can't be
Wow.
wall-to-wall people like it used to. So because it's reduced down to 25, and it has been like that for about almost a year, that means those cases just keep on getting continued. So it takes longer to get into court.
Right.
So,
And essentially, I guess people that maybe don't have to be in jail have to stay in there longer, right? If it's taking them long, if it's taking you all longer to get to them because of the.
so that's a little different.
Okay, that's a little
if you're
different.
in jail, you're going to come on a jail docket, and that's going to
Okay.
roll. It could be 5 people in jail that day, or it's going to be 40 people. That's
Okay.
going to run regardless.
Okay.
Because you have those constitutional rights to be heard.
Right.
And you got to do that within 14 days now.
Okay.
So that's always going to run and be
Okay.
pretty effective. I'm speaking about people that are on bond,
Right.
which the majority of people now are, bond pending trial. Those are those people that kind of get pushed out, and those dockets are kind of limited to the numbers.
Judicial election coming up.
It is coming up May
2022.
3rd, 2022. Early voting is April 13th.
What can people expect from Judge Walker in another term?
I think you're gonna get more of the same. If you like Walker now, then you're gonna like her then. I am unapologetically authentic, off and on the bench. I am firm, but I'm fair. I try my best to be consistent. I'm going to remain in the community, and that's just where I belong, and that's where I feel comfortable. Walker is no nonsense. Sometimes, sometimes that works for you, sometimes that doesn't. But it's just
Right.
what it is. When I'm telling you I'm authentically like
Right.
Allegra, that's just what it is. So sometimes my mouth gets a little slick, but at the end of the day, I'm going to do right by people.
And that's
I'm
the
going
most
to do right
important
by
part.
the attorneys. You might get Auntie Allegra from the bench to kind of like, look, you shouldn't have done that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You raised better than that. You
Right.
might get some of that,
Right.
but at the end of the day, it's in love, and it's probably what you need to hear, not
Right.
what you maybe want to hear, but it's what you need to hear, and it's going to be fair. It's just what it is. So I'm excited.
That was the last question I had for you.
All right.
And I appreciate your time. And I know the viewers and the watchers are going to get a lot from this. I think especially around co-watching, especially around just building that relationship, not friendship, but building that
relationship,
respectful relationship on better understanding what's happening in the courtroom, and then better understanding, and they can voice their better understanding on kind of what community would like to see, or what community is seeing that they felt is right or wrong that is happening.
And input is great.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these judges are the smartest
Right.
people out there. And I tell people, I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree. Most
Right.
days I shine pretty bright, but
Right.
I'm not the brightest,
Right,
right?
right.
So I'm always open to suggestions
Right.
of how something affected somebody or how you can do something better. We can always improve and do things better. But that's part of the relationship, and not you go run somebody's name on Facebook and Instagram, as soon as you leave out.
That's emotions. That's impulse. We're going straight to social media.
Yeah.
What is the best way? I think that's a good question. Maybe people don't know. What is the best way to voice concerns, opinions, respectfully, everybody, respectfully, to you or the other 10 judges that you preside with?
I mean, it just depends on what it is. If you're talking in the context of a court watch program, I think that's just going to come with building a relationship.
Okay.
I know who you are.
Right.
You've been introduced to me. I know why you're there.
Right.
First of all, so you're building that immediate rapport. We're going to ask you to come up to the front so you can hear, so you can fully engage with what's going on, because all the action happens up front and not in the back.
Right.
And then we have an understanding. If I have time, which, I mean, I don't control what other people do, but
Right.
if time allows, then you can have a 5 or 10 minute
Right.
session with the judge. Just ask a question or two.
Right.
I don't know where you go wrong with that. And
Right.
I don't know any judge that would say, nope, that's a bad idea.
Okay.
I don't want to do it.
Does
I don't know anybody that would do that.
Does email work too? Because I'm sure, and I'm pretty sure this is
Email works. However, judges cannot talk to folks about pending cases. Just
Okay.
can't do it, and you're not going to even get them to respond.
Okay.
You'll never respond to that email because
Okay.
I don't even want to hit the reply button
Right.
for you to then think that,
Right.
I just don't do it. And it's crazy
Right.
because people will sometimes reach out to me on Facebook talking about cases. I'm just like, okay. I mean,
And that's why it's important for people to understand what's the best way to do it, because
and I can't. I don't even
Right,
reply. Like I
right.
can't reply to Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or Twitter. By the way, listening public, you can't communicate to judges like that.
look, we all feel everybody should be responsible. It's social media,
It's
just,
social media.
social media.
We
Social
love
media.
it, but we hate it.
Any last words, Judge Walker? You want to live with the folks?
Social media, by the way, gets a lot of people in trouble too. Most court cases I see with domestic violence all surrounds that social media and those cell phones. Oh my goodness.
It baffles me. It doesn't make sense to me, and it's just you're self-incriminating. You're self-incriminating.
Just press delete.
And I can't. I don't have no sympathy
Just
for people.
press the delete button.
That do it. It just, if you want to try to go viral and get arrested, go ahead. That's what you want to do. Any last words you want to leave with the folks, Judge Walker?
Just thanks for having me. This has been great. I was a little suspicious at first, but this has, I had to call my campaign manager. I was like, "What you think about him? I don't know if we should do this or not." But anyway, the spirit led me to call you back to say I would agree to do that. This has been a great. So I look forward to bigger things that you're doing in the community.
For sure.
I think it's needed. Elections are going to be great. I think it's going to make Nashville even better come spring and summer of 2022. And, I think Nashville is on the right track. And I'm just a part of I'm blessed to even be a part of this and the impact that I have on people on a day-to-day basis. I'm just blessed. I just am.
This year and next year, I think is going to really mold and shape Nashville going forward. We have judges, we have like judicial elections, and then you have council 2023. I think people get out there, vote, research, do what you need to do, especially if you plan on being here in Nashville, because those are decision makers on a lot of levels.
And so, women are doing their thing in politics too.
Hey, gotta love it.
Like 2014 ushered the largest number of women elected to the bench.
You gotta love it. And then for me personally, I especially love when black women are in those positions, because that wasn't always the case, and it's still difficult, and especially when you have folks telling you, hey, I don't think that Nashville will elect a female or black female judge, so all the women out there,
Let's
all
hear
the
it
girls,
for the naysayers.
Yeah. Get out there, go for it, go for it for sure.
Yep.
Judge Walker, thank you for your time.
You're most welcome.
And I look forward to just talking to you more and learning myself even more about
We'll
what's
find
happening.
a pizza place that's open.
Oh yeah, everybody knows I should probably be 300 pounds. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome.